As many of you know, I spend half of my year here in Los Angeles and the other half in Venice, Italy. My partner and his family are from a small part of Venice called Lido di Jesolo, and so I've been talking to them almost every single day during this entire situation, just finding out exactly what they're going through in Italy. It's a highly publicized area in the globe right now due to COVID-19, and I wanted to actually talk to someone on the ground in Italy. So let's call a friend of mine that I met at the Venice Film Festival and see what he's up to.
My name is Roberto. I live in the Veneto region in northeastern Italy, and I work for an entertainment company.
That's great. What do you do for the entertainment company?
I do market research. I PR with suppliers and clients. And I'm currently in the small town of Liman. This is just the countryside behind me. A lovely little place, a lovely little town, 25 miles away from Venice.
Can you tell me what the level of quarantine is in Liman? What are you currently going through?
Well, we're basically in a national lockdown. We're stuck at home for days. We can only go out for groceries and pharmacies, unless we have one of those essential jobs that require moving from one place to another. But it's not my case.
What are they currently deeming as essential?
To go to the supermarket and, of course, buy groceries, to go to pharmacies and buy drugs and pharmaceutical items, and, of course, going to hospitals if someone has medical appointments, and people who work in the essential jobs in factories and other workplaces that are part of that production that is needed by everyone.
Have you left your house? Because I was told that you have to, only one person from your family is allowed to go.
We are only going out to go to supermarket, and you will probably find long lines because only one person is allowed, one per family, and very few people each time are let into the supermarket so as not to create large crowds into it. And there's controls and checks at supermarkets, so that this rule can be enforced by the security people.
What were your thoughts when COVID-19 started to spread?
Well, when COVID-19 started spreading, I started reading about it on social media first. Twitter, Facebook, and of course newspapers. And I started paying attention to it because, there's always been this big one pandemic that the people have been expecting. And I thought, let's hope that it's not this one. And as news started coming out of China in the first few weeks, I did realize that this could be the big one. But it didn't really strike me as a global pandemic until it started appearing in Europe as well, especially in my country, which was the first European country to have a massive outbreak. And at that point, at first I was very afraid, especially because one of the first few cases appeared near the place where I live. So I was a little bit disturbed, especially because we don't know much about this virus. So there's always a little bit of tension when you talk about it. But now we are starting to get more accustomed to this general feeling of, being in a special time. We have to adhere to very strict rules, and we know that it's for the good of everyone.
Now, I happen to know that your media and cable is owned by your government and you pay it through taxes. And so a lot of the media was taken over by this. And in my opinion, that was part of the reason why it was so scary and is still so scary, is that people are just seeing themselves as numbers. So can you just talk about kind of like what it's like to be in Italy and, everyone's just watching the news and the evolution of information and things like that?
Um, the media,
Oh wait,
the
can you give me
news
one
media,
second? Sorry.
yeah,
Do you hear the trash truck in the back? It's
a
kind
little
of
bit,
loud. Yeah.
a little bit.
Sorry, one second.
Well, it's not. Anyway, it's not just. It's not all the media's controlled by the government. There's a public broadcasting service.
Uh-huh.
It's 3 channels, and then there's
So that's like
other,
Rai
yeah, commercial.
Uno, Rai Due,
Right, yeah,
and
exactly.
Canale Cinque. That's it.
No, Canale 5 is private.
Oh, it is. Okay, but are they
Yeah.
also playing news like that?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay, well then that means that they're capitalizing
Six,
on.
there's seven channels that are pretty major, and if you count Sky News, it's 8. But Sky News, of course, it's satellite TV, so not everyone has it. And for the past few weeks, over and over, yeah, they helped create this sort of paranoid state of mind where people really cannot get a break from the pandemic. So yeah, it's pretty serious. But now news are starting to be more, I wouldn't say optimistic, but at least they're starting to shift the focus on positive news as well.
Oh, great! Oh,
so
that's
yeah.
amazing to hear.
Yeah.
Well, there's actually now positive news. What's some positive news you guys have been hearing?
Well, the last positive news was yesterday. There's been a decline in new cases, positive cases, and deaths and hospitalizations. So at almost 2 weeks from the start of the quarantine, the national lockdown, we're starting to see some glimmer of hope. Of course, it's not going to be over anytime soon, but at least we can get to bed with a slightly cooler mind.
What do you think is the most significant way that you've personally been affected by COVID?
I'm starting to feel part of a global community where each person plays a role in a society and in a community. So following a set of rules can help other people not be taken advantage of by any kind of situation, and especially now where older people, elderly people, and immunocompromised people, and people with underlying conditions can suffer from very serious disease caused by this virus. Well, we're all playing as sort of immunity to these people, so that if and when they contract the virus, they can be helped by hospitals that are not overwhelmed by the cases, the positive cases that this virus gets. And this is pretty major because it really gives you perspective into what life is.
And the role you play in it.
And the role we play. And yeah, it does feel, it's not just about the videos that appeared on social media with people singing and trying to cheer other people up. But it does instill a sense of community and participation in a society. So we're all playing a role, and it's pretty major.
I mean, I 1,000,000% agree. I mean, the fact that I'm even getting to speak to you right now in another country, for me to be able to call you right now and see your face, I mean, we live in a completely different time than there has been before.
This is a global effort. This is not just about Italy or France or the United States or Spain. We're all trying to contain something that is is almost out of control, but we have to do it for the sake of everyone, for the sake of the health of people, for the sake of the economy, for the sake of society in general. If we are going to survive this as a planet, as a global community, we have to think of other people first before ourselves. We have to think of the general welfare rather than personal one.
What do you think the biggest backlash of COVID-19 is going to be for Italy?
Italy is going through a very difficult time, of course, because it's the worst hit country in Europe and perhaps in the world outside of China. Well, I'd say that the economy is gonna be severely hit after this, and we were already coming out of a tough recession, so we're pretty much jumping back into it. And of course, there's a general sense of going out, when we go out and when we go to the supermarket or a pharmacy, there's this general sense of suspicion around us that is not going to be easy to get rid of in the near future, because of course, and I talk about myself as well, you never know how you can catch this virus. So we're always standing, it's not just about physical distance, it's emotional distance as well. So masks and gloves and whatever, those are just visual representations. I try to stay away from people because I don't want to risk getting it, but not because of me, but because I don't want anybody else to get it. But it's going to take a little time to overcome this sense of, oh my God, what's going to happen now? Who is the person near me infected or not? It takes a toll, but we'll get through that too.
Yeah. I mean, I think that culturally Italians are such a welcoming and generous people, and that's a generalization because not everybody has had the same experiences that I've had. But in saying that, I also know that there are some, kind of deep-seated cultural differences when it comes to even words like stranieri and the fact that like a foreigner is considered a stranger. And so I personally wonder what's going to happen with that, or what do you think will happen with any of those types of things that Italians are very proud about.
We're missing the physical contact. We're missing the hugs and the handshakes and the kisses, but it's too deep-seated into our culture to let that go because of a virus. So when we overcome this pandemic, I think that's going to be strengthened rather than weakened by all this. So we're going to hug each other and we're going to kiss each other with much more passion because we missed it. Especially with our friends and our families, and and that's going to help a lot, because when we feel alone, when we feel afraid, we as Italians need to hug someone and to express our passion that way. So right now we're it's sort of like living under a spell. But when this is over, we're gonna multiply it by 3, 5, 10.
Oh, I hope so. That would make me so happy.
Yeah, I miss that too.
I think that everyone is getting to a point where they're missing physical contact across the world. I had to go and pick up a ladder yesterday from a friend's house. At the very beginning, I went up to hug her because it's just natural, and I had to literally stop myself and be like, oh, we can't hug. Even though American culture isn't very touchy and there are other cultures that are less touchy, it doesn't matter. People still want to hug and shake hands and show affirmation, especially during hard times. So
Absolutely.
this is a tough one, this pandemic. I've just been talking to a lot of, people in Yeslo and Alex's family and stuff. I think that the fear that was perpetuated by closing your borders really fast, like Alex's aunt had to drive through a snowstorm from Austria in order just to make it home to be with her immediate family. I've also heard, I'm not sure if it's 100% true, that they are burning affected corpses, people who died fatalities, which is scaring people from going to get tested. What is one downfall or bad thing that you've noticed through this pandemic?
The situation is very peculiar, and with all the problems with testing and hospitalizing people, is making people realize that since this virus isolates literally people, a lot of people who have the virus and who are in more critical situation or critical conditions decide not to be hospitalized in order to possibly die with their loved ones near them. But that's gonna and that's of course the just the sheer number of deaths that's happening in Lombardy and in Veneto and Emilia-Romagna. Graveyards and cemeteries cannot accommodate everyone. So institutions are turning to crematoriums as well. Of course, that's a very scary thought. And there's no funerals either, because that would mean crowds, and that would mean dozens of funerals every day, which cannot happen. So, especially in Italy, which is a very Catholic and very religious country, that's almost felt as a sacrilege of some sort. And a lot of elderly people are dying, which are the core of the Catholic following. And that's instilling a lot of distress on population here, because you don't really feel that you died the way you wanted to, and that's a very disturbing thought, and especially now because you don't know if you have it, you don't know if you have the virus, you don't know if you can be cured. That's that is a lot to process.
Let's go into a happy thing now. Now I feel really bad.
Pardon?
I said, unless you want to still talk about it some more, I think I've got enough for the bad thing. It makes me feel bad making you talk about it more.
No, that's okay.
Okay.
It's okay.
We've got a lot of stuff, on that side of things, and it just really it is breaking my heart to hear about. I mean, I love the Italian people so much, and so for me to know how much fear that they're having, that's literally the reason why I'm doing this.
There's a lot of suffering, and it's really too much. I'm a very sensitive guy, and reading the story. There's so many stories on not just the national newspapers, but on local editions and local newspapers. There's tons of stories that you won't hear about that are just heartbreaking. And since I live far away from my parents, because they live down south, there's I thought about it a couple of nights ago, when after you wrote to me. It's very hard to say it, but there's this latent feeling in me that I might not be able to see my parents again.
I'm so sorry. I hope that that's not the case. I'm like tearing up over here.
I don't know how I'm still able to fall asleep at night, but my parents are doing very well, and they're just going out once a week for groceries, and that's it.
Okay. Good.
That's all.
I think they're gonna be okay, and
Okay.
I'm gonna put some good thoughts in the universe for you because that's
Okay. Thank
so
you.
much to handle. I'm so glad that you have your sister there.
I'm glad to be here for her as well, because she has asthma, and I keep her home every day.
Yeah,
So
that's great. Okay, you're amazing.
yeah, thanks. Because I don't want anything to happen.
No, of course. What is one good thing or triumph that you've seen through the Italian community so far during this pandemic?
The Italian population, the Italian people reacted in a surprisingly positive way to the very strict measures imposed by the government. You know, there's a lot of saying, especially here, we're very self-critical. Especially here, that Italians just don't follow the rules. They just don't care about them. But in reality, there's a lot of people who are taking a lot of care about this. They don't go out. They just stay at home. They follow the rules, just plain and simple. Which is, again, a little bit surprising in my experience as well, but they are understanding the gravity of the situation. And it's just a very good sign for the future, because it's always been said that we always have an ace up our sleeves, we as a people. And it's definitely true. When push comes to shove, when the chips are down, we can react all together, and that's very nice to see.
And is there anything specific in closing that you would like to say specifically in Italian to other Italians, just about what they should be focusing on and things of that nature?
Voglio dire solo che tutti insieme ce la faremo, aiutando la gente che lavora negli ospedali, nelle ambulanze, nei pronti soccorsi. Dobbiamo fare solo la nostra parte e ce la faremo.
Is there anything that you would like to say in English to, countries far away, letting them know how Italy is doing and where Italy's heart currently is?
Well, to all the countries who are experiencing the same situation as we are here in Italy, I just want to say that it takes some getting used to the attention that is brought by this pandemic, but you'll soon realize that this effort is worth it, and that it's nothing that we cannot do. A lockdown, we can endure it, because we know, and that you are doing it for the health and for the good of weaker people, because a society, the strength of a society is defined by how we support those who are less fortunate.
Thank you so much for your time, Roberto. I appreciate you, taking this time to get on with me. It's super early in the morning here, and I hope it is a beautiful day for the rest of the day for you guys.
Thank you so much, Colin, for the time that you've given me.